on the channel either. So we're building a 66 Ford F100. It was an original, all original truck, 2-wheel drive. The guy bought it out of North Carolina, and he's a local guy to me. We're 4-wheel drive swapping it and putting it on a 79 F150 frame. I have already chopped and shortened the 79 frame to the 66 Ford wheelbase, and then we stripped all the suspension out from underneath it and sent the frame, axles, and suspension parts to sandblast and powder coat. But the axles, we're just going to go through and rebuild and paint. We're not going to powder coat those. We don't want to go through the whole process of stripping them down to complete bare housings just to be able to powder coat them. So we'll get these axles back to the shop, and then need to get them inside somewhere so they don't surface rust because there's bare metal sandblasted right now. But get some Pour 15 spray can paint to paint them with, and then go through and put all new wheel bearings and ball joints in them and new steering. We have all of it at the shop already ready for it. Whenever we get to the shop, I'll show you the 66 F100 and the plans for it. But for now, I got a lot of driving to do. So catch y'all when we get back. All right, guys, we are back at the shop. We made it back. Got our axles in the bed here. Bed's a little messy, but they're back there. Go ahead and show you this F100. The old slick side is what they call them. It's one heck of a unit. She's clean. All original paint. There's a few little bad spots on the bed, but nothing too bad, you know what I'm saying? Nothing as bad as old Tina up in the shop. Here she is. This is the old girl right here we have going on, and we have our bed full of brand new parts. So we have everything from brand new body mounts. We have frame brake lines and fuel lines. We have hubs and wheel bearings and brakes and disc brake kit for the rear axle. Stainless steel brake lines, redhead steering box. She's gonna be a minty ice cream driver. That's all he's doing with this thing. We're just building this thing so he can drive it to get ice cream. He says it ain't gonna be a show truck. He ain't taking it to shows or nothing like that. I think he's lying on that part. I'll see it at shows. But gonna be one heck of a build right there. What's up, guys? We are back on the patina project. We actually never left. You guys just haven't seen it until now. So anyways, the cab and front clip is currently just free sitting on the Super Duty floor and firewall. And we also have blocks back here on the crossmember. So my plan, now that I've kind of taken a gander and messed around with it for about a day now, I think. Messed around with it for about a day like this. Let me get the flash on here. So as you can see here, this little side panel opens up the bolts for the dash. Oh, come on, there it is. The bolts for the dash are right, you can see the edge of it, right in there, right there. It's behind the 79 door post. So I want to mark this where the top of that bracket goes and the bottom side of that bracket down here. I want to mark that on the 79 doorpost, and I'm going to notch the doorpost out. That way, in the future, whenever I want to pull this dash out and put a 08 to 10 6.4 dash in here, I'll be able to get the dash out with ease instead of having to fight that bracket back there, because the bracket is currently inside of this door jamb. Now, the next plan of execution, I left the inside of the Super Duty door jamb here, and there's really no reason to have it there, so we're going to cut that out as well. That way it frees up all of that space and doesn't make any unnecessary welding. So we'll just cut it at the floorboard right down here along the floor, and then just attach it to the 79 doorpost and cab from the floor right there. Same way it is on the 79. The dash needs to come out so that I can connect the windshield cowl of the 79 to the dash cowl of the Super Duty. It lines up, it matches, but there's not really a way to get in there to weld it currently. I can't get in it from here because the dash is in the way, and I can't get into it from out there because the 79 cowl is in the way. And I can't chop this up because I don't want to mess up my patina. So I'm gonna have to pull the dash out. So that is the plans for everything as of now. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking the grill back off and taking my little temporary fender holder off. And then we'll get this cab pick back up in the air, make the last few changes that I want to make to it, and then set her back down for good and start attaching the floor pans to the cab. Let's go. All right, I made the executive decision to go ahead and set the cab down first, and then we'll figure out the wipers later. That's the choice that I made. So we're gonna get down, set the cab down, get it positioned where I want it at, try to get it centered. It might have centered itself, look at that. But I don't know if you can tell right here, this bolt on the dash is center of the Super Duty, and that is center of the 79. That little body line right there, little rib that runs down the hood. I want to get those lined up. If it's even off, it's like a little bit, I'll see it. So I get the passenger side this way a little bit, get lined up. Pitter patter, let's get at her. Oh, that topside creeper comes in handy, I'll tell you what. All right, guys, we got our first beads laid. Did catch it on fire a little bit at the old heater box, so we'll get into that later on. But I'm gonna go ahead on this driver's side right here. I'm gonna pull this fender off, and then we'll start taking like the overflow tank, the coolant overflow tank, and a few of the other things along this little sidewall right here. I got a few bolts to take out so that I can trim that sidewall down flush with that fender. So we're gonna get into that and keep going at it. Let's go. All right, guys, we in the shop. It's New Year's Eve. Actually, it's New Year's now. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been knocking stuff out on Tina. Check out the progress that we've made. So we have the cab completely center. I was able to get that body line lined up with that center spot on the dash. So I started welding this up, and I got a few little spots that I still got to get back to. Got to fill that in, get all this cleaned up. But the other side over here is also welded, and I was able to go straight from the cowl up here all the way down through there. And we'll also go in and weld those back up. I had to cut those slits so I could bend that cowl out a little bit farther to make room for the cab to slide over the Super Duty stuff. So that's why that's slit. We'll fix it later on. She's officially mounted on the front. All right, guys, I don't know how well you're gonna hear me because we have the heaters going, but we're back in the shop working on old Tina here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start getting these floors on the back half of the cab attached, and then try to get the cab mounted today on the back half. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's our current state of the Super Duty floor. I got them somewhat lined up, but I still have to trim out right back here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. And then I have to trim this part, this floor brace for the 79 cab out. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this seat belt as well. Basically, cut this whole back half off, but leave these bolt holes. I wanna leave these bolt holes in it so I can still put a 79 Ford Super Cab rear bench back here. So, that's where we're gonna end up meeting the Super Duty floor about right here. And if I have to make some 16 gauge panels fit for that spot, that's what I'll do. But coming around the back here, we have to move these cab mounts forward, cut these cab mounts off the frame, move them forward to these bolt holes, and then weld them back on the frame. So that's what we're gonna try to tackle today. Get that knocked out, and then we'll start moving forward. So pitter patter, let's get these seats out of here. Get at her. So as you can see, we got quite a bit of a gap here. But if I go through and straight cut this Super Duty floor from like right against this little block and go all the way across in a straight line, I'll come up here and make a cut on this panel. This is just sheet metal flooring right here. And then it rolls up and sits on top of the brace for the rear cab mount. So I think I'm gonna cut this along this bend right here. And then we'll just make like a 4-inch panel at a 16 gauge that goes from this side and comes down and meets the Super Duty floor all the way across. And then we'll weld it up on top and bottom and be able to clean it up real nice, and it'll hold the floor good. Being that it's coming at a downward angle, it'll keep it pulled up instead of being flat and flexing down. right, guys, got that back panel welded up. About tired of welding. So my phone needs to charge for a little bit. So I'm probably just gonna get in my element and get some stuff done. I don't know what I'll have done by the time I get back to showing you guys, but that's what I'm gonna do. So see you on the next clip. I know you guys are like looking forward to seeing Tina on the road, and I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. I want to work that truck. I want to drive it. I want to use it. I want to pull my gooseneck with it. It's going to be so cool, but I can't afford to work on my own stuff all the time. I have to make money, you know, and working on my own stuff doesn't make me money. So we're probably going to end up assembling the front clip back onto this thing in its current state, and then pulling it out, getting the shop cleaned back up, and then I'm going to have to switch over to that 66 F100 project. And then we'll just have to work on Tina in the spare time. I've dedicated 4 straight full days to it, and I've made a lot of progress pretty dang fast, honestly. Getting the cab fitted, we got the front half of the cab welded, we got the back half of the cab welded. I do still need to make the rear cab mounts for the frame rail to bolt the cab to the frame. So my to-do list is it's like 17 things long. Actually 16. I chalked one off last night. But I'll go ahead and show you the progress on it, and then we'll set the camera up in time lapse, assemble the front clip back on this thing, and then pull it out of the shop and get it to where we can clean up in here and do some stuff. So let's go. So I did get the rear floor pan welded in. She's welded in right there. We still have to do the rocker sides down through here and get all of this connected and attached. And then also, as I said, we got to do the rear body mounts. I got this one cut off and grinded down. We still need to cut that one off, but they got to scoot in, and like an inch needs to be taken off of them. But we are completely welded up here along the 70s Ford cowl and doorpost. I do still need to fill that in. I think I'm going to end up going out to my parts cab outside. It's a gold super cab. I'm going to end up cutting this box off of my parts super cab out there, and then just transferring the other box onto this, because I made this slit whenever I was fitting the body on. That way I could beat the side of the cowl out a little bit farther to make some more room to slide over the Super Duty. And I also got ahead of myself on this front clip and cut stuff off before I knew exactly what I wanted to do. You see, I went into this swap wanting to make the 79 fit all the Super Duty stuff, but I also went into it with the vision and the idea of using the top half of the 79 inner fender to mount the hood hinge. Well, then I got everything trimmed off and realized that I don't have enough room to fit the 79 hood hinge because of the 6.0 Powerstroke HVAC box, and then the fuse box is over here on this side. Like there's not enough room low enough to fit the 79 hood hinge up there. So what I'm gonna end up doing is chopping this fender structure back off about from right here all the way down over to here, straight line. And then I'm gonna chop it off up here, right through here. I'm gonna go out to my parts Super Duty, the dually that we went and got. I'm gonna chop that section off of that one to get all of the stock structure Super Duty stuff back on this thing. So I'll have to redo all of that to make it look factory again, but it's what I get for jumping ahead of myself. So like I said, we're gonna set the camera back up and assemble the front clip back on this thing, get the hood cover and the engine bay and everything back up, and then pull this thing outside, clean this shop back up. So let's get to it, guys. Alright guys, got the front clip back on, got it pulled outside, got the bay cleaned up out here, a little bit, around the tires basically. But she got a little bit of a cylinder misfire, and I'm pretty sure it's because we're out of fuel. Low fuel light's been on since I was driving it around as a go-kart. But just look at this thing. So sick. I put a little bit of fuel in it, but I also have some grounds that aren't connected as well. Some interior grounds and engine bay grounds. Got just enough to start up and drive around. I better go get some fuel. Yeah, we need some fuel. Oh yeah. She ain't hitting on all eight. There's a 4-door Bronco. Look at that. Centurion. Holy cow. Alright guys, well, that's it for this truck. We'll get some fuel, put some fuel in it, get her primed back up, but got to work on getting the shop cleaned up, getting the axles for the 66 F100 out of bed, and then we'll go from there as to whether I start rebuilding those axles or pull this back in and do a little bit of stuff on this while we wait for the new paint to come in. Might do that, but either way, pause on this for the day. Let's go. Alright guys, me and little brother are out here. We got the tractor up here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the flatbed off of the original frame that Tina was on. We're gonna set the flatbed on the Super Duty frame. That way I can go through and build the rear cab mounts and the flatbed mounts at the same time and get the body line as straight as possible. Because one thing I didn't want to do was get the cab set and then go to mount the bed and then have the bed line coming this way and the cab line going this way. So I want to make sure that they're both straight with each other all the way across from back bumper to front bumper. So we're going to go ahead and pull this flatbed off of this frame and get it set on the Super Duty frame. Let's go. They even hold pressure against the chain now. I don't think I'm fully lined up like this way, am I? It's pretty close. All right, guys, we got the old flatbed set on her. Look at this thing. we do have some modifications to make to it, obviously. Our restitches back here coming into each other, so I'm going to chop off the one off the flatbed, and we're going to scoot the flatbed in about an inch farther. See if we can get a bolt hole lined up right here, and it needs to come up a little bit higher up off the frame rail. And then, as I said before, I knew we was going to have a gap here, but it honestly, from afar away, it doesn't look horrible. I'm still not going to leave it, but it doesn't look horrible. Look at this. Look at old Tina girl. This is awesome. All right, guys, so as you've seen, we went ahead and slapped the flatbed on here, and check this thing out. It fit so much better than what I thought it was going to originally. I knew it would fit pretty decent, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. Check it out. She looks like a complete truck now. Like, look at this thing. So the reason why I did this, I wanted to go ahead and set the flatbed on here and get an idea on the body line front to back, and make sure that I had the cab, like the trim and the body lines on the cab sitting parallel with the flatbed back here. So I didn't want to have the flatbed straight with the frame and then have the cab sitting up too high in the back, or sitting nose high and too low in the back, or whatever you want to call it. I didn't want the lines to be mismatched. So being that I have to make all new mounts for the bed and new mounts for the back of the cab and new mounts for the front clip, the only thing that's solid mounted right now is the front floorboards. So I want to get this body line from the front doors to the back of the cab even with this line on the flatbed. And once I do that, we'll mount the back of the cab, and then we'll move on to securing and mounting the front clip. We'll have more progress as time goes on. I did get the heat working though. My good buddy Jeremy Deem, he owns this single cab right here. We got to do a cab swap on it. He sponsored me a blend door actuator. So we now have working heat in this thing. But the funny part about it is he doesn't know it yet. He doesn't know that I took the blend door actuator. He's gonna find out whenever he watches this video, because he works on the boat. So that's gonna be pretty funny hearing from him. But yeah, we got working heat now. She looks like a complete truck. We're sitting on a 6x6 block back here, but at least it looks presentable while it sits in the parking lot and waits for its slow points of attention. I did get some progress made on the axles for the 66 F100 the other night. We got the drum brakes pulled off the rear axle and started taking the factory disc brake stuff off the front axle, so we can start replacing it all with new stuff. And then I also went through and ordered some Power 15 spray paint to go through and paint all of this bare metal sandblasted axles with. So once the paint gets in, we will get those cleaned up, get them rebuilt, and then start putting them underneath the frame. I gotta go pick the frame up from powder coat. If the frame's done, it's gonna be ready to pick up from powder coat at 2:30 tomorrow. So we'll probably start having more progress made on customer projects, and Tina will be done in the spare time. But we're still bouncing around steering shafts for this side-by-side, so I can try to get it done. I also have a 7.3 Powerstroke outside. I gotta do an oil cooler and other high pressure oil stuff too. So Tina's gonna go on the back burner for a little bit, but as I said, you never know. It could be in a video. You just have to wait and see. It'll be a hit and a miss. It's not really a planned thing. If I get a chance to throw it in here, work on a little bit on a few little things, or get a whole day, I'm gonna take it. So we'll see what happens with it, but peace out, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next week.